Um, do you remember the comic book you once read called Flashpoint?
Oh yeah, yeah. I only wrote that a year ago, so I remember it very well.
Yeah.
We're doing an animated movie of that actually right
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna ask.
Yes.
Something. There's a rumor said it's coming out. You know when it's coming out?
End of next year.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a series that I wrote actually. Flashpoint was a series that starred the Flash, who's a character who moves at superhuman speed, and it was the series that kind of closed the universe right before we rebooted it. So it featured all the main characters.
It's me again. Did DC ever use Stan Lee's Marvel way of creating comics?
I do not know. So Stan Lee, again, who's this guy that created most of Marvel stuff, did a book that was all about how he created superheroes. I don't think DC. I don't know if DC ever used it.
Has anybody ever used that?
I've never used it. But I use the device on running everywhere.
About how many characters have you said that you've made?
How many characters have I created? Oh, I don't know. I would say probably, if you include supporting cast members like Dr. Tomato, I would say probably about, man, there's a lot of lanterns out there that I made that are from different colors, so probably about 100, 150, I would think, of new characters. You know, one of the things you do, because people always ask, why aren't there more new characters? And one of the things about comic book characters is that they've been around so long, these superheroes, that they've created you're like, oh, how about a female magician? Like, well, we have Zatanna, we have this great female magician that has this background already. You go, well, how about this guy? And so over the years, all these niches have been filled. You know, all these kind of interesting what about this character? A monster character, well, we have Swamp Thing. So it's really interesting on creating new characters of how do you create a new character that's going to stick around and that's going to be unique and it's going to be different. And it's something that everyone's trying to do, which is why we create so many new characters.
I have two super nerdy questions.
Okay.
Is
You're in the right room for super nerdy. It's a very interesting mix. It's like this great community and comic geeks.
Is Wally West ever going to come back?
I don't write the Flash, so that's big question number one. Yeah, but I don't know publishing.
Oh, okay. And then, well, this one I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer too, but Books of Magic was one of my first comics that I ever got into. I was beyond thrilled when Tim Hunter was going to be in Justice League Dark, and he was only there for a little bit. Anyway, are there any plans to bring him back to his
Not any books I'm writing, but they might have book plans for them in that book. I don't know what their plans are. But those were super nerdy.
So this is super nerdy too.
All right.
So you created those Lantern Corps, which are awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
As you can see.
I like your shirts.
Thank you. So my question is, how did you settle on those 7 emotions? Like, what was the process? Because they seem like there could be other emotions, like a jealousy core, or...
Yeah, but does that sound good?
It does sound good.
Okay,
they'll be fuchsia or whatever.
So let me explain to everyone who don't know about the Green Lantern. So the Green Lantern actually, you know how you're chosen by the rings, by this intergalactic police force because you can overcome great fear. So essentially it's courage. It's all about willpower. In the universe, in this mythology of Green Lantern, there's something called the emotional spectrum, and the main emotions that we kind of give off, if I've got willpower and drive, I give off this power that the Green Lantern rings collect, and when they coalesce into the willpower, it's green. But there's also fear out there, so when they coalesce fear, remember I said that fear doesn't exist, it's not real? Or in the comic books I've decided to make it real, like we feel fear, we give off fear, well, it can be collected to an essence that's a yellow energy. And that fuels a yellow ring, and the people that wield those yellow rings are not good people. You know, they're all about instilling fear. And then there's a Red Lantern Corps, which is all about rage. So when we feel angry or rage, even road rage, we give off this emotion of rage, and it can be coalesced and condensed into a red power ring. So there's a Red Lantern Corps, and the Red Lantern Corps are consumed by rage, and that's what they just rage out. Like that guy has that shirt, so you must rage out. And then there's the Indigo Tribe, which is compassion, right? And so I basically just took the rainbow and broke it down into different spectrums and emotions. And with Indigo, it's compassion. And I always felt that compassion was a very compelling and underused emotion. So I wanted to make that mysterious and interesting core. So in the universe, beyond Green Lantern Corps, there are good cores and bad cores. The Blue Lantern Corps is all about hope. Blue is hope. So you have a whole range of emotions, and I just kind of picked the ones that I thought were most viable and interesting to write about. Jealousy core, beings who are consumed by rage, and they're taken over by a red ring, even if they don't want to be part of this core, and then they're all about destruction and revenge, and they're just kind of trapped. That's an interesting story. How do you help somebody from that? How do they deal with rage? Because, anger is a bad emotion, but we all have anger. Every one of us does. And really the emotional spectrum is supposed to be all together. It's us, We deal with all these emotions. So even though it's a superhero book about aliens with red rings flying around, at the base, underneath it all, you clear that all away, and it's still, how do you deal with anger? What's rage all about? How does that fester in you? When you lose somebody, there's a hole in you, and that can be festering with rage if you let it. And how do you deal with that? So that's how I picked those emotions, is what would be the most compelling and interesting thing to write about as underneath this great, crazy space opera superhero thing.
When you went to MSU, you said that there were 2 comic book shops near campus.
Yeah.
Was one of them Fortress?
One was in the basement, where some crazy guy ran it. And it was scary to go in there. And then one was Curious Comics, which was kind of another scary place.
So, was Curious Comics run by the same people who do Curious Bookshop now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were nice.
And the